Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a closer look at something pretty complex. The recent U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities.
Right. A lot of claims flying around.
Exactly. Tensions were high over their program, and these strikes happened. Our goal here, really, is to try and understand the actual impact.
Because the sources we have, well, they paint wildly different pictures, don't they?
They really do. So the core tension seems to be this. Was Iran's nuclear program, truly obliterated, as some were saying?
Or was the damage maybe far less severe? That's the
Yeah.
key question we need to explore.
Okay, so let's dive in. We're looking at a couple things here. Excerpts from a Defense Intelligence Agency assessment. That's the Pentagon's intel arm. CBS reported on that.
And then alongside that, we have direct statements from the White House and from President Trump himself.
Right. And what jumps out immediately is how different these are.
Straight away. The early Pentagon assessment, the DIA one, indicated the strikes, quote, did not destroy the country's nuclear program and probably only set it back by months.
Only set it back by months. That's
Yeah.
well, that's a world away from obliterated, isn't it?
A huge difference. And there's another crucial detail in that early assessment, from sources familiar with it.
What's that?
CBS reported they also said Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium was not eliminated in the bombings.
Not eliminated. So the actual nuclear fuel or potential fuel was still there.
It seems to be the implication. If that stockpile, a really key part of their capacity, remained intact, it fundamentally challenges that narrative of complete destruction.
It does. It makes you wonder about, well, the effectiveness versus the way it was communicated, perhaps.
Precisely. And it shows how sometimes that initial intelligence, even if it's, preliminary, can be quite blunt, maybe even when it contradicts the preferred story.
Okay, so then you have the White House reaction to this Pentagon assessment.
And they really didn't mince words.
No, they called that initial damage assessment flat out wrong. Even went so far as to label it a clear attempt to demean President Trump.
Which is quite a statement, publicly pushing back against your own intelligence agency's report like that.
It really is. It puts us and you, the listener, in a position of weighing these very different accounts.
Absolutely. You've got the intelligence community's, let's say, measured assessment, maybe cautious because it was early,
Right.
versus the president's very definitive statement, obliterated, and the White House forcefully dismissing any other view.
It's like that baseball analogy you mentioned before we started recording. One person sees a total blowout, the other sees a close game.
Exactly. You have to consider not just what they're saying, but maybe why they're saying it. What's the context? What's the potential motive behind presenting a certain narrative?
So, wrapping up this deep dive then, what are the sort of the main things for people to take away from this?
Well, I think we've laid out two starkly different perspectives based on these sources. You have the Pentagon's early take program set back only by months, crucial stockpile of enriched uranium still there.
Okay, perspective one.
Then perspective two. President Trump saying facilities were completely and totally obliterated, and the White House calling the Pentagon's view flat out wrong in an attempt to demean him.
And seeing these clash like this,
And
it's important, right? It really highlights how difficult it can be to understand what really happened in major global events.
Especially when the information itself is contested right from the start and at such high levels.
Yeah.
So maybe the final thought to leave you with is just that ongoing challenge. Discerning the precise outcomes, figuring out the narratives that emerge when those first assessments and the big political statements just don't line up.
It makes you think, what does being well-informed truly mean when the basic facts themselves seem to be up for debate?
Something to definitely ponder.